Hello guys, it's Christian from Radio Nordic here today with Judge Sander and player Casper Jensen. Casper, would you like to show us what you played to came third place at the YGO Extravaganza celebration event?
Yeah, I played True King Dinos with a ton of hand traps to fit the format, so let's just get started. Firstly, I played the three Oviraptor and the three Miscellaneousaurus, so pretty mandatory free offs in any Dino deck. And then for some of the one-offs, I played the Jurag Dino, the Jurag Aeolo, and the Giant Rex. Of course, Giant Rex just to get recurring level 4 summons. And the Jurag Dino is for the turn 1 Misk Baby combo, so that you can either trish your opponent or use Croc to draw cards, and then Calamities. And then the Aeolo is for later in the game, when you can just get your one-off Misk, plus maybe a Giant Rex in the grave, and then get out a Trishula or the likes to summon more rank 9s later.
So just for people that don't know, you are focusing on going first and making sort of a combo calamities
Yes,
sort of style.
and just because of the format, I also play 9 hand traps in the main. Just because even if you then lose the dice roll like I did every single match this weekend, you can just hand trap your opponent. Or when going first, I play the Crocosaurus. I can just draw into more hand traps to
Makes
have
sense.
more interruptions in the gate.
Makes sense.
And then of course I play 2 archesaurus. You could probably play 1. But it's really annoying to draw 1 and then not be able to summon it with Misk. So I just ended up playing 2 to not have those awkward hands where you have 2 normal summons. And then for the baby package, because I'm playing True Kings, 3 baby Saurosaurus and 2 Petite. They can feel like a brick sometimes. For example, I would be playing the Almirage if I had not forgotten it, because then you can fix some bricky hands by normal summoning a baby, then making Almirage to have a fire target for your True Kings. But yeah, for the grind games and just for a lot of the combos, you end up burning through at least 4 of them, at least all 3 babies every time. So it's nice to have 5 targets so you can grind on later in the game. And then for the bigger boss monsters, I played 1 Jurek Titano, 1 Overtex, and 2 Conductor. The Jurek Titano is just a level 9 that you can use to make calamities to summon off pill. And then the Overtex, it can be a brick, but I feel it's really nice going second for breaking back row boards, and then just to be able to get an insta pill by sending it off either Foolish or Oviraptor. And then you could pay 3 if you really wanted to, but then it feels like a brick, and 1 is a bit too little for those grindy games. So I would say 2 is the perfect rarity, perfect amount of conductors. Then for the True Kings, the 1 Disaster and the 3 Vanisher. You could play the Water True Kings, but they break a bit because there aren't really any good water targets when it comes to either hand traps or dinos. So I'd say this is probably the best ratio.
It's an odd choice to play the True King cards. How do you feel they performed in this meta?
Pretty good, because I didn't actually summon calamities all weekend, but the True Kings in themselves can be kind of a blowout, especially because of the uncertainty when you're activated. I had a lot of opponents thinking about if they wanted to negate it, because there's so much follow-up play that you can go after afterwards. You can end up popping 1 or 2 babies with them. The Vanisher, of course, has the banish effect if you pop 2 fires, so they never really know what's going to happen afterwards. So it just gives a lot of power plays and a lot of uncertainty on your opponent's side. And then for the hand traps, 3 Gamma and 1 Driver. And then 3 Drool for the Drytron matchup, and just 3 Ash to be generic. You could probably play more or less depending on what you like, but it felt really nice just to have 1 to 2 hand traps each hand to stop your opponent every time.
How did you
And then
feel
you can just
about
blow them out with
Gamma?
Dino cards. Sorry?
How did you feel about Gamma as like for going first, for example, or if you were going second and playing into a board? Was there ever a time you could activate a True King, they try to negate it, and then chain Gamma, for example?
I didn't have that come up because I don't think I drew it more than twice, but often, for example, you have the True King Field spell or just Misk in general. If you use Misk and Grave, most people will ash it there if they know what they're doing.
Right.
And then you could just end up gamming and win the game off that.
Sure.
And I played the Cyframe Lambda in the extra deck, so that when you have maybe an extra link material on the board, you can just make the link 2 plus your normal board and then have an extra negate in their turn.
Okay, but it wasn't your main consideration for playing Gamma. It was more so just to have a generic hand trap that was impactful.
Yes,
okay.
But it actually ended up being quite nice for the grind game, because if you had Lambert out and you of course Gamma your opponent in their turn, if you have Conductor out, you can just use the Conductor to pop the driver, get it into graveyard. The Gamma gets banished in the end phase, and you can summon another one to have during your turn. I ended up using every single Gamma, I think, because I started with 2 and ended up searching one more and just kept popping the driver. So it felt quite nice.
Yeah, that's a clever play.
And then for the spells, of course, the free fossil deck, just to see your power cards more often. And 1 terraforming, 1 diagram, 1 lost world. In this round, I just played the 1 lost world, so that terraforming is never a brick. And then, of course, the 1 True King field spell, the diagram, to just basically pop off every time you draw it.
Did you consider set rotation for this deck?
Yes, but I didn't want to play more Lost Worlds, because I feel when you use your extra deck spots for the True King engines, for the level 9s and rank 9s, you don't really have the flexibility to do that many like pure Lost World combos.
Right.
And it just doesn't really... Often, if you have a True King, the only thing it actually accomplishes is just to protect you against perhaps Gamma or Imperm by giving your opponent a token. But other than that, I didn't really feel like it did much. And people don't really play Imperm anymore, or Gamma for that sake, so it didn't feel quite as impactful. And then it just feels bad to draw set rotation plus the diagram or plus the one-off Lost World.
Sure.
So I didn't want to break that extra.
Makes sense.
And then for the last cards, 2 pill, same reasoning as the Conductor and the Archesaur. You want to have the ability to grind a bit more, plus if you end up drawing if you only run 1 pill and you draw your Misk and you want to do Archesaur combos, you of course can't, because you don't have a legal target, and it just destroys the whole deck. So I really like playing 2. 3, I would say, is a bit much, even in the True King variant, because you don't really want to use 3 cards from your hand to make 1 monster, but yeah, 2 feels like the right variant. And then for the last 2 one-offs, I played 1 Callbar Grave, because a lot of people play Drool and Lancia in main, and often you'll just die if they do that. And of course, the 1 Foolish. And then for the extra deck, I played 1 Secure Gardener and 1 Link Karibo. This is just for the Archosaur, so you can link the Archosaur into Link Karibo, then into Secure Gardener, so they have the non-dino engrave, so that nearly every hand with Archosaur plays will be a guaranteed Conductor. And then, of course, the 1 Lambda, just because I felt like I had the space, and a lot of times you end up perhaps having a Link Karibo plus another material on the field that you don't have to use, so you can just still get the non-dino engrave and then have a useful link if you draw Gamma or have another way of banishing a psychic.
Was your intention to play Almirage over the Link Karibo for the future?
Not instead of the Link Karibo, but just instead of another card. I would perhaps say instead of this or another card, just because you really need the Link Karibo for the Misk plays, but having an Almirage to if, for example, draw a Fire Kaiju and a ton of babies, you can't do anything. But if you have the Almirage, you can basically do everything, because you just have full combo with O-Raptor and then normal summon another baby, pop it, summon from grave, pop. So the Almirage, I felt, unbricks quite a lot of hands, because you just have an easy way to make a fire target. For example, also if you draw Drool, normal summon that into Almirage, and then have something to pop. And then for going second, 3 Nightmares. The Nightmare Cerberus is mainly for Lost World plays. If you end up not having a O-Raptor in hand and have True King plays of some kind, you can just summon a True King, maybe normal summon another dino that you can't use for anything else, and then use this on the Lost World token if you manage to summon it, and then use the Lost World effect to protect it,
To
and then
protect.
summon an Raptor from deck. And then for the Xyz, I played, of course, Dolkan Lagia, then Abyss Dweller, Dugaris, Tornado Dragon, and Calamities. These two I feel are quite mandatory because Dolka is just so good with 2 monster negates, and Lagia is also quite good because it's basically just Judgment. It can either negate summons or spells or traps, and a lot of people don't know about the summoning thing. So if you're in top deck mode and get this out, it's basically a guaranteed win in most situations. Then Abyss Dweller, we have a lot of people playing stuff like Shadows and Shadow Invoked and stuff like that, so it just felt nice to have a blanket win or pseudo win condition in that kind of way. Then Dugaris is just for the OTKs to boost Conductor to 7k, or in fringe scenarios you could summon a level 9 from Grave if you want to go into Calamities. Then Tornado Dragon is just really nice together with Phoenix, because you can just make Tornado Dragon first and then link it with another monster into Phoenix and basically have a Twin Twister in your extra deck. And then, of course, the Calamities. I didn't end up summoning it, but it's still a win condition these days. If you just have this and Dolkan field, most people won't be able to win.
Yeah, that card is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Then for the Synchros, I played Trish, Crocosaurus, and Cloud Castle. This was just in the situations where you end up having to link off, for example, going second, linking off a True King to make the Nightmares, and then being able to make Calamities afterwards. And then the Crocosaurus, the theory was just to be able to draw my hand traps going first, but I will probably cut this for Almirage because I didn't feel necessary to draw any more hand traps, and it just feels quite nice to get the extra knowledge and disruption by just trishing your opponent. Turn 1, you get to remove a card from their hand, plus get that extra knowledge. And then the side, I played 3 Ghost Bell, mainly the virtual world matchups, but it's quite diverse, nearly everything, plus also Called by Grave or DD Crow on your Misk and stuff like that. So it just felt really versatile. Also, of course, the Drytron summoned from Grave and stuff like that. And then one-offs, I played 1 Dogoran and 1 Pankatraps. Really nice going second cards, but I couldn't really fit them in the main. So it feels nice to just put them aside, and if you know you're going first, you can perhaps take out a hand trap, put this in, and then if you draw the Petite, you can just pop that with Conductor and then summon this and have an extra disruption. And of course, just then out to nearly everything, and it's searchable by 6 main deck cards with Fossil Dig and Raptor.
Did you not regret not playing the Pankratops in the main? It seems like such nice utility in the deck.
Sometimes yes, because you often just, with a lot of resources, you end up just having a Petite on the field or going second, but I just felt like it would be easier to focus on going first, because the Dino cards in themselves are quite good, both going second and first, and with that many hand traps, it didn't really feel necessary to have another going second card.
Sure.
And then for going first, I played 2 Parallel Exceed. It can be a bit weird and a bit unnecessary, but a lot of times it's nice to just be able to make that either extra link material going on the later turns, or just making an extra Abyss Dweller on top of the board you're already making.
Why 2 instead of 3?
Dragon and such.
Why 2 instead of 3 of them?
You don't. After you've used already 1, or the 2, you could say you don't ever want to see the 3rd. So I didn't want to have scenarios where I got a dead draw longer into the game. So I just opted into playing 2, and it fit with the amount I had in my set deck.
But it's not a complete dead draw. It'll still trigger itself. It just won't summon another one.
Sure, but in the later stages, you would rather just see a bunch of Dino cards and the stuff, because nearly every time you're drawing stuff like Fossil Dig, Raptor, Misk, all those Dino cards will be really good, or hand traps will be impactful, whereas just a single level 4 won't really, because as soon as you're after turn 1 or 2, The best cards in your extra deck are the Evolsars, and you of course can make them with this, so I just felt it fit nicely with just playing 2, and then if you drew it, you can use it, otherwise it would just not conflict.
Okay.
And then Cosmic Cyclone. A lot of back row decks and mine. I didn't want to end up losing to Mystic Mine and being salty, so I just ended up playing 3 Cosmic instead of Twin. And then, of course, in the Eldritch matchup, you can end up banishing stuff instead of sending it to the grave, so they don't end up plussing on it. And then 1 Mystic Mine. I wanted extra go second card for combo decks. Couldn't really find anything else. I considered Mind Control, but it just felt awkward in a lot of situations when I've used that, so I just upped it into mine. Plus, the Terraforming in main makes it so you basically have 2. And then Red Reboot, because it's just a game winner in most scenarios. You can kill really easily with dinos, so the cut in half life points plus the extra trap doesn't really do anything, because if you get this off at the first trap, you just win. And then evenly for basically every matchup, Eldritch, combo decks, stuff like that, to bait out negates or just win the game.
Okay, thank you for the deck profile. Are there any shoutouts you would like to give?
Of course, shout out my locals, the Prestige Field Yu-Gi-Oh! Once locals. We actually had both me at 3rd place and then Thijs at 2nd from our locals. And,
wow.
Ingvar for winning our other locals matches with dinos and making me go back to the True Kings. And then Jonathan for basically making the list with me and for me. And then Lucas for lending me his cards, some of the cards.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the deck profile, and we'll see you in the next video.